Alright, this is Simmon coming to you once again for another match in the USTA 2020 TAC tournament. And I'm pretty sure you can see what I'm showing, so hopefully that's the case. Anyway, this is a match from fwwwwwibib and something Jayhawker. So, fwwwwwibib, a very strong competitor in white, and Jayhawker in black. I haven't seen him play before, so I'm not sure if how good he is or how his play is going to be here. So this will be interesting to see. So we're seeing a mirrored setup right now, playing into the center. Not quite with adjacent corners, it's opposite corners this time, which is interesting play. So we'll see how this one turns out for Jayhawker, as he is at a disadvantage because he is playing as black. And also because he's playing against fwwwwwib, who is potentially the strongest competitor in this tournament. It's in my opinion between fwwwwwib and No Hat Coder. So we'll see how that works out. We're seeing a block come in from black, trying to separate this area here from there. I'm seeing a capstone come down soon. Maybe here, maybe there. Capstone seems like a good play from white here pretty soon. Wants to get that in a capturable opportunity. Okay, so black dropped a capstone first in a good spot. This is able to cut off any vertical threats coming from this anchor or any horizontal threats coming here. Great capstone placement from Jayhawker here. fwwwwwibib has to decide how he's going to respond to this, how he's going to make this go his own way. Now, I think that was a pretty good play. It goes for that vertical. I still feel like a capstone here at c5 would probably be best, just because we're looking at a much, I don't know, it's got more options to it. Okay. So we're seeing black build up here to stop it. Okay. All right. There's the capstone that I was thinking. F4 coming around to stop that horizontal, and then the capstone coming up. Good spot for the capstone. Can come over, can come down, can do a lot of things to really push that position of fwwwwwibib. Now also he can circumvent this horizontal threat and get rid of this capstone problem just by coming over here and then focusing on this vertical threat. And so I would assume that he would want to place here at c6 to sort of secure that. Okay, no, he's going over here to a2. He really wants to push that horizontal threat, which makes sense because he's got this opportunity up here to come around to push vertical and horizontal. Also, he can come down here to the bottom and go to that anchor point at f1. So fwwwwwib is in a much better position right now, as expected from white this early in the game. All right, we see our tack threat here from black coming up to capture. White stops that pretty quickly. Now the question here is, what is black going to do to respond? Because white now has a lot of opportunities from this position. He can start building down here at c1 to go straight up. He can start building across more. Okay, going for the upper limits. And then if b2 captures over at c2 at any point, he can just place here, and then he's got that more horizontal threat going. So white is in a really good spot here. Black is going to be scrambling quite a bit, but black also does have some opportunities playing down here at b1, maybe coming up here for this vertical threat as sort of a way to get out of there. Yep, and that's what he did there. b1 sort of progresses his own path, but also leaves him multiple opportunities to block this anchor point at c1, which is probably what he's going to want to do here, considering, yeah, so he blocked it with the b2 because that was a tack threat. And white is just unfazed, continuing to just place flat stones. Again, that is the key to tack, to a solid game of tack, is placing. Now I see b2 coming over to capture c1. It's in a really good spot. he can basically secure this line, and he'd only have to worry about c6. And I say that because if uh, b3 comes over and captures c3, he can use this one to capture over there. Then if b1 comes over and captures c1, he can use this capture to come down. Okay, so he's going for a different route. Now this is interesting because Black wants to use c2 to come over and capture to give himself a line, but he can't because that would give the win away to white. And if he plays here, white takes the win by capturing here. So he'll probably have to do something like capture down, or maybe capture this one down. It's interesting. It was a good play from fwww. It wasn't what I would have done, but I think it's better than what I would have done. Again, this is why fwww is such a strong competitor. He knows better than I do. Not that I'm any sort of authority, but he knows better than I do what to do here. Black goes ahead and captures up. We could see a capture over here, which would probably result in... Okay, no, we're not going to see it. We're going to see a wall come out. That's interesting. Because capturing over would have basically necessitated a capture down, which might have been more fun to place the wall there after that, because then he would have had more opportunities, more captives to use. Now, where is Black going to go with this one? Now, one of the opportunities is to take this B2 and come over to A2. That keeps it out of reach of this wall, keeps that captive safe, but it does... Okay, so Black is just playing defensively here. He's saying, I don't want you to make that vertical threat. I want you to stop it right now. So I'm going to keep this wall here in a threat. fwww doesn't really care. He's going up with that wall anyway. Threatening tack. He could just throw this over, leave a flat down for that threat. So Black uses his wall to stop that. White's just saying, I'm going to keep placing flats and I'm going to build around you. Placing up here is a good play. He can come up with... Ooh, all right. Let's see what we're looking at here. I'm interested in this play because this puts two captives right next to the capstone of fwww, which has to be very tempting. But Black, if fwww doesn't take that, Black's next turn could be to place here and give another tack threat, put some more pressure on to White. Whereas White's had the momentum this whole time, Black is starting to take it back a little bit. Now, whether or not that's a good play... All right, so White decided to take that stack. It was juicy. It was hard to leave alone. I don't know if I could have done that. So we'll see what Black has in response to that, because he had to be expecting that capstone to move down and capture those. I was just going to build around the capstone here. An interesting play, because if he places here at b4 next, then he can just move the capstone up for another win opportunity. Which might be what he's going for. So we see a c2 play here from White, which is interesting. He's probably saying, you know what, I can come up with the capstone and keep this vertical threat alive as long as I keep this going. And I don't have to worry about Black placing here because I'll just move the capstone up and block that vertical threat from that spot. And from that position, yeah, he can move this up, leave one flat behind, come and capture over when this one comes back. So he's got this alive right now. If he places at d6 after countering with this capstone moving up, he should be fine. I also like this move. I like e4 coming over to the left because that's attack threat. And it stops the Black threat. I think that's the move that I like the most here. But he goes for the capstone instead. So this is, again, this is not a tack threat right now, like you would have had with f4 coming over to the left. And f4 coming over to the left would have been great because it would have also isolated this capstone a little bit more. Wouldn't have had that opportunity to come up. Well, it would have, but just not to capture a piece at the same time. Do feel like f4 to the left is a better move here, but fwib is more often than not a better player than I am, so maybe he's got something in his mind that I am not aware of. We'll see. I do see a d6 played here next from fwib. Let's see, what's black going to do here? He doesn't have too many opportunities. That capstone moving over was probably his best move because it keeps things aggressive and it stops all those different tack opportunities that white has been building towards. Now, fwib has a number of opportunities here to basically keep this tack threat going. That can be easily stopped by black's capstone. Like he can move this capstone over, move this flat over, but then the capstone can come right here and stop the whole thing, or the capstone can go up and retrieve some prisoners. So it's hard to say what white's going to do here. Because there aren't a lot of great options at this point. He can build here at D1 or at E1. I like those moves because that builds towards this horizontal threat near at the bottom, and that's a good place to be. Granted, with black's position here on top of a flat stone, he can throw that capstone down and block any threats. It's still there, and so it's a good spot. I think E1 is a good move. Actually, we saw that a couple moves ago. One of the commentators, one of the spectators, was saying E1, and I don't think at the time that was viable because there was a tack threat that needed to be stopped. But we do see black come down with D2, so he's preparing to cut off this road threat that's going to be made here at D1 by coming down and capturing. And so there's another tack threat coming across here. Moving that wall up to the top or down below would be a win here, connecting to A2 to F1. So it'll be interesting to see what he does here. If he comes over, if he comes down, or if he comes over with this flat stone. If he comes over, this flat can just come back and forth, and that really wouldn't do anything for him. He can also throw the capstone down if he wanted to do that, but I think that the wall coming over would probably be the better play in the long run. Yeah, the wall came over. Now, probably A3 needs to come down and capture here, or he needs to throw this capstone down something. Nah, the capstone coming down wouldn't be great because then he just plays D2. So yeah, B3 coming down to A3 was the move there. That was the good move. Now, in order to keep this threat alive, yeah, he's got to play down here at A1. A wall is probably going to come down here at B1 just because a flat would just be easily stopped. He can't capture down because then another flat would just be placed here and it would be perpetuating, just be thrashing back and forth. Coming down with this would be a bad play as well. Yeah, so the wall is really the only opportunity he had to stop that threat. We might see A1 come up, but probably not. Okay, that's an interesting move. I don't know if I agree with that one or not. Now, at this point, white might just be playing for flats. He might be thinking, okay, there's two walls on the board, three if you count mine. A lot of my opportunities are blocked. I might as well just start playing flats as much as I can and see if I can build this out. And if I can build a road, great. But if not, then I will win on flats. And so that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing a flat count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 flats from white to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 flats to black. So it's going to be really hard to come back here for black. Black is taking a lot more time as well, as we can see from the timers, 7.5 minutes, whereas fwib still within that 10-minute mark. So these matches are 10 minutes with a 15-second increment, meaning fwib hasn't even used up his initial time yet. He's been playing on increment this whole time, averaging less than 15 seconds per turn, whereas Jayhawker averaging much more. All right, we see white continuing to build up for this vertical threat here on the E, and then black deciding, okay, I want that to stop. I'm going to place here to stop that from happening. Now it'll be interesting because placing at E6 is attack threat. Placing at D6 is a delayed attack threat. No, placing it at D6 is also attack threat. I like D6 better. I feel like it gives a little bit more opportunity, because we also see this file being helped as well. And so it's sort of a two-pronged almost. Yeah, so there's the D6 coming out. That was a good play. So that's attack threat. Capturing over with the capstone makes that attack threat. It's also harder to see than the E6 because you're looking here, here, and you see that, which is a lot easier to see than this. Might not seem that way, but in the moment when you're under pressure, different patterns are easier to see than others. We see a lot of tack opportunities here for white, and so black has to be very careful about where he's playing to try and keep this competitive and keep himself in the game. And we see black come over with F3 to E3, and that stops this vertical threat here. Now white's response is probably going to be to place somewhere, just because that's been his strategy here at the end game, is to place a lot of pieces. Now, he doesn't really have to worry about any road threats from black at this point because black is really behind and there's really no concrete threats. This horizontal line is the only thing that he's got going on, and this capstone and this wall basically block that from happening ever. So he doesn't have to worry about that. He just has to think about, okay, what can I do here? Maybe I can force a Tinue. If I can force Tinue here, then I've got that, and that's a great way to win. He might be thinking that's the ideal way to go. He's taking a little bit more time here than he has in the past, because he has the flat win basically wrapped up. But he's probably taking a look to see if he can win and force this out. Curious as to what fwib is going to do here. Now I don't know where Jayhawker is located. I know that fwib is in the UK. I think he's around the London area. So it's about 4:20, I think, in the afternoon for him. And I'm not sure where Jay is located. If Jay is located in the US, it's the morning for him. It's before noon, so maybe that's affecting him. Maybe he hasn't had breakfast yet. Who knows? All right, so we're seeing the wall come over. Okay. All right, that's a great two-pronged threat here. Now, so we see this threat coming up vertically, coming over that's tack. Also this coming over that's tack. Now, there is one move here that stops both of those, and that's this wall coming over to C1. I believe that stops... No, yeah, that does stop both threats. So the wall coming over to C1 will stop both of those threats. However, placing here at B1 afterwards, that might, yeah, he might have gotten Tinue here. That could have been a brilliant move that I did not see at all. Let's see, let's think about this. So this wall basically has to come over. Or this flat comes over. No, yeah, this wall has to come over. So the wall comes over, then white plays at B1. That's a vertical threat and the horizontal threat because the capstone can come down and crush C1. But what does he do? Yeah, I believe this is Tinue. I think fwwwwwibib saw it. That was a great play and one I didn't see at all. We see some commentary from No Hat Coder off to the side, the other top player in this tournament, saying that Jayhawker is playing a lot better than their rating would suggest. And so the rating that No Hat Coder is referring to is the unofficial Playtac rating, which is the system that No Hat Coder actually designed. And it's sort of an ELO rating for all the players on Playtac. And it judges their performance against other players and bots on playtac.com to determine who wins there. And we saw it play out. The wall comes over, white plays at B1. And so I think that is Tinue. And very impressed by that series of moves. Really great play from fwwwwwibib here. Yep, and now we see capstone come down, smash at C1, and that is game 1 winning for fwwwwwibib. Unless he misses his own threat, which is possible. Okay, there we go. We see it come down and smash. That was a great game, great ending sequence. That was a great Tinue move. We'll probably see that in a puzzle after this at some point because this move right here coming across, man, that was brilliant. Like I just don't see any other way that could have played out from here. I think this is the only move followed by B1 that just makes it. Oh, that's such a good move. Fangirling over here over this. Okay, so we will be seeing a second game between Jayhawker and fwwwwwibib. And Jayhawker, I agree with No Hat Coder here. He played a phenomenal game. I don't know exactly what the rating is for Jayhawker. I'll have to look that up and see if I can find what his rating is, because fwwwwwibib is ranked pretty well, and I think he's ranked lower than he should be on the unofficial Playtac ranking. He's ranked at number 10 with 1872 on his ELO, and Jayhawker is ranked at 809th with 1287. So 1287 to 1872 ELO. And again, that rating from fwwwwwibib is not completely accurate because he hasn't played a lot of games recently, and it does deduct points if you haven't played games recently. And so his is not quite accurate. Also, other rating factors go into this because you could have, let's say, a bunch of games versus a specific bot that may raise your rating up. And so looking at just player games is a better way to take a look at that also. Because again, like right now, I think the ratings are set to where there's one unknown player who has pretty much only played Intuition Bot, which looks one move ahead. Pretty great design on the bot. It looks one move ahead, but it's got a pretty solid evaluation sequence, and so it's pretty good despite that. And so a lot of people will play that bot and lose to it because it's about an average player. I think it's got a rating of, where is Intuition Bot? Intuition Bot has a rating of 1699, which is pretty good for only looking one move ahead. But yeah, so one player I think has only played like 100 games, and they're all against Intuition Bot, and so it's currently the number one player right now. Nobody knows who it is, but it's got 2045 rating. No Hat Coder with 1995, and then me with 1967. Again, my rating not that good because I play a lot of bots like Intuition Bot also, and so that brings my rating up higher than it should be. So fwwwwwibib, I don't think plays a lot lately. He doesn't put in a lot of games. He has in the past. He's got over 2,500 games on Playtech, which is quite a bit. He's up there in the highest amount of games on Playtech. Apple Monkey Man, I think, is the person who has the most. He's got 4,500 games or so. But I don't know if we're going to see a break here from these competitors. Okay, so we are seeing a break. Next game is in 5 minutes. So I will pause the recording here and we'll pick back up when they pick back up. All right, so we're back for game 2 with Jayhawker and fwwwwwib. Jayhawker is white now and fwwwwwib is black. Did a little chit-chatting during the break there, and I was talking to fwwwwwib about how great that move was, and he was saying, yeah, thanks. Jayhawker saying, yeah, I didn't see that move either. Naturally. Oh man, that was a good one. Still gushing about that great Tinue move from fwwwwwib. That was so fantastic. All right, we're seeing the initial start with black being placed in the corner as usual. We're going to see what fwwwwwib does here, because he can play adjacent corners or opposite corners. Now there's some debate going on whether opposite corners is better for black or if adjacent corners is. Adjacent corners I feel like is played a lot more often, which is interesting. It does sort of limit the potential for white of which direction to go, because he can't, for example, can't just, if he's placed here, he can't come across straight, which is more of a factor in 5x5s because edge crawl is dominant, but in 6x6s, not so much. But we do see a lot of mirrored moves. So if it's placed in adjacent, and then we'll see these two squares probably be placed, and then going on and on and on. Okay, so fwwwwwib is taking his time here. I think he started chatting in the Discord chat, so I think that he forgot that the game had started. Maybe he didn't notice. So we are seeing the adjacent corner here placed by fwwwwwib. Okay, so we're not seeing these center squares being taken. We're seeing this start, which is interesting. I've seen this start a number of times because it gives you the opportunity to go here or here with this diagonal anchor point, which can lead to a lot of Tinues. But I think fwwwwwib is a little stronger player than that we'll see that not quite as viable. Because fwwwwwib right now taking control of the center, blocking off this area, already has momentum. fwwwwwib can place here at D1 and or at D4, and he's got the momentum because he's got 3 pieces in a row, while white only has 2 that he can go for. Sure, white can come across and cut, but then we can see things come down like a capstone here, which would really throw him off. Really, if white does want to cut, he wants to cut across from this side. Okay, so he's going to go with a capstone. Another strong play here because he knows that he can cut this road and that it can't get retaken. Black saying, okay, I see what you're doing here. You're going to be building this way. I'm going to start taking the center control, getting this area under control so I can basically do what I want and go in multiple directions with this. White's saying, all right, I'm going to start building around you here. I'm going to go in this horizontal direction. Black throws down a capstone to stop that. And so he can come up here or come over here, and either way he's blocking off any sort of road threat that's going on horizontally here. Comes up, which is the stronger move. I'm surprised that he captured that early. I was going to expect him to wait for a tack threat really to do that, because we are going to see him start building around. We might see an E1 or an F2 here, which would build vertically for white as well as threaten this this horizontal threat a little bit more. Also, fwwwwwib did tell me in the Discord that he doesn't think that his wall move was Tinue, so we'll have to go back and look at that and see if he was if he's right about that. But we'll see. All right. So we see D1 get played here. Interesting play. Doesn't make a full connection. Does set up to block this vertical threat from black from developing anymore. Also sets up to capture to come across. Black instead building up here, which is good because that's horizontal and going for vertical here. I like this. I like it. Now we're seeing white come down a little bit more. Now, here's where we see something different. I would like to see probably black play here at A3 because we know that he wants to do this horizontal threat. He can place here at E1 probably or at F2. Okay, he's going for the wall instead. That's an interesting play. I don't know that I would have done that because if he placed a flat here, he would have won this capture war because he could capture down and he's got that. Plus he's got his own captive underneath, and then white would need to come over and capture. Otherwise he'd get covered, and then A1 can come just back up and win that capture war. I do feel like that wall was a little... I don't think it was necessary. And the spectator here, probably Sime, but maybe somebody else, saying it was a brutal wall. Yes, it was brutal, but I don't think it was necessary. I think a flat would have been just fine there. But we'll see. We would have definitely seen a wall from white come out if he hadn't played that wall, though. So I do expect this wall to get thrown to see a spread here. Black piece left on B2, and the wall land on C2 at some point. But now we see white build up this vertical threat, and now black is behind on momentum here. He's got to do something about this. Okay, so he's playing up across. That does help him. It helps him build this horizontal threat still and the vertical threat, so it was an offensive and defensive move, which is what you want to do in TAC. Okay, and this comes across, which is an offensive move and a defensive move again. Great play from Jay. He's playing a lot better than his rating would suggest, just like Nohad is saying. I see an F5 here maybe from fwwwwwibib, because that'll sort of protect this piece from being captured a bit. He might also play here at E6, because E6 can keep that tack threat from being thrown up here, which is this move. Yeah, I think E6 is probably better here. But I'm interested how this will play out. Jayhawker is playing a great game here. And Jay is still playing in increment. He's playing a lot faster than he was last game. And fwwwwwibib's a little behind, but he did start, I think, 2.5 minutes later, so maybe he's not playing too great there. Okay. So we see E6 being played like I expected. Spectator was saying wall at F2, which wouldn't have been that great, but it would have definitely put some pressure on for this area and probably would have caused the C2 to come over or something like that. But yeah, the wall would have definitely cut off that threat to begin with. It would have been pretty brutal, but it wouldn't have been both offensive and defensive at the same time. Now we're seeing F5 come out, which is, again, building towards this threat and stopping this horizontal one from black. So we can probably expect an F6 played here, or maybe an F4. F4 would be good, because capturing over would build this connection down, which could potentially lead to threats. F6 would be good because it could work towards this horizontal threat as well. It's got a lot of options here, and it could play out a lot of different ways. However, this piece, whatever happens, is going to lose any capture war that occurs. Capturing over, and then down, and then over again, white just wins that. And then would probably result in a wall up here on E6. It's interesting to see this. And okay, so now we see that wall here at F2, just like the spectator did predict. which is a good way to cut that threat off. Now, walls are a two-edged sword because, again, they don't count for your flat count, which is hard as black, but they do really, really help when trying to stop those threats. Now, the threat he wants to stop here is obviously this vertical one. He can place here at F6, which is good for his flat count, or he could just go ahead and go with the F2 initially. I would probably want to push this out first and sort of force more captures from white. Again, if he does place here at F6, we can see a flat here placed. Okay, so we're not seeing that. We might see an F6 here anyway, or we might see an F2. If we see an F2, that's really good for white. I feel like that's his ideal move at this point. Because again, it starts building towards this, and if he places a wall here, the capstone's right next to it and can smash at any point. Now, sure, the wall can come back down and capture F2. But yeah, okay, so the capstone came down. That was interesting. Not expected to smash that wall there. Because now a wall just comes up and separates from this, but now he's got this sort of vertical opportunity. Maybe he wants to throw across and eventually smash this wall. It's hard to say. But I really do like white's position here. I mean, black's got some good opportunities to play out in the late game, but at this point right now, white is definitely ahead. And I'm very impressed with Jay's play right here. And this, I mean, maybe he's just playing really, really well and he learned a lot from last game, or maybe the white advantage is really playing against fwwwwwib here. Maybe it's a combination of those things, but I think he's doing great. Okay, so we see F2 played by white. He wants to build that vertical threat again. We see F3 coming over for black to stop it. All right, F4. Yeah, white really wants this vertical threat to happen. He's really padding this out. He's got two citadels here. And black's saying, you know what? I'm just going to keep going. I'm building this threat out. I'm going for this horizontal threat, even with your capstone right in the middle and my walls and your citadels. I'm still going to go for it. Okay, so F4 comes down, covers F3. If he plays a flat at F4 here, that's attack threat. No, he's going for the wall. I don't know about this. He might move this capstone up, and if he does, he's got this sort of protected line all the way up here to E5. No, he's placing a flat. That was unexpected. I feel like moving the capstone would have been a stronger move. Okay, so now he made it so the capstone can't smash. Because if he smashes this wall with the capstone, black wins. So that was a smart play there. I like it. I like it. See the other citadel built up. Probably going to come back and capture again. Interesting plays here from fwwwwib. He's really wanting to pin that capstone. We are seeing, it looks pretty close on flats. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 white. And white has, okay, so that's after it. So it's 1 up on flats. Okay, it's a close one. And we did see this move here at c5. That's building towards a vertical threat. I feel like d5 might have been good here, because it would have also built towards a horizontal threat up here to f6. And I'm curious as to why he hasn't played up here at f6. Yeah, and the spectator did point out that if he connects up top and throws that wall, just moves it over to the side, that's the win there. So yeah, if he does get to connect up here, then he wins. And yeah, I think fwib has the win here if he plays at c6. I don't think there's anything. Oh no, yeah, there's nothing he can do. Yeah, he wins. Black takes it. And here it was, just going for that, hoping he didn't see that. There it is. Yep. That is Tinue here. I mean, the only thing he can do is white can capture up, but then this gets captured over, and that's it. That's the only delay. Yep, and he didn't see it, and the wall comes over, and it's done. That is game for fwib. Now, fwib wins both games of that one, both games with Tinue. At least supposedly with Tinue. That was a good move, good play. He saw that he didn't have the momentum there. So, okay, No Hat saying there was a move to get out of it, and that was to throw the capstone. So let's see that. So he plays there. If the capstone gets thrown, white, black. Okay, so white, black, capstone. Yeah, that would have blocked this wall from going over. So yeah, that would have been the move to stop it, to stop the Tinue. So it wasn't actually Tinue. Okay, it was a tough move to see. No Hat saw it, of course. And so did this one, yeah. So yeah, great game. All right, let's look at that additional game. Where are we seeing here? We saw who was. It was. How am I going to type that out? I don't know how to spell his name. All right, let's see. Search fwib. All right, we're going to look at it on this view because I like this view. All right, we'll see if this really was Tinue. Okay, so he moved here, and he was saying, fwib was saying 2d3 to the left. No, that doesn't stop it, because this. So yeah, it definitely was Tinue. Yep, great play. Okay, so we see fwib winning both games. Moving on to another game. Those both games were really fun. I was very surprised by how fun those games were because I just expected nothing against Jay, but I expected fwib to just sort of steamroll through them all and to be very short games both. And they weren't. They were both good, solid games, and we saw some back and forth on them. So good games. Well done, Jay. I mean, it's hard to win against somebody like fwib. So excellent play. Great games, and I will pop back on for another match. Hopefully, we'll get to see fwib and No Hat play at some point, which will be in round 2. All right, thanks, folks, and good tacking.